Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back. Timothy Collins Jr. joining us here live today. Excited to talk to him from Broward County. And he's the owner and operator of 5A Therapy Mental Health Counseling Service. And excited to talk to him about all the work they do, providing virtual group therapy services. And of course, how we can help you. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Very excited. A little nervous, but we're going to make it work.
No, we're going to have a great show, great conversation. We're going to get into clinical therapy, ebook development, card game development. We're going to get to know you first and foremost, which is most important, and then find out all the services that 5A Therapy provides. So why don't you give us a little overview as to who you are and what you do?
Yes. Well, my name is Timothy Collins Jr. You can just call me Tim. That's very simple. And once again, the owner and operator of 5A Therapy. And it's a clinical mental health counseling services where I provide individual services, group services, virtual, in person, depending on the location. And it's definitely a growing knowledge. And the 5A actually stands for awareness, acknowledgement, acceptance, answers, and application of those answers. So that's basically the streamline of how I operate, in addition to all of the modalities of therapy that everyone else knows about.
Wow. And I also was reading that your mission, in a sense, is to help clear out corruption, right? To become your truth through awareness, acknowledgement, acceptance, answers, application of interventions. And we're going to get into that. And I want to know about your services. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Walk us through, take us back to where you grew up and, you know, how you got into this field. Do we have enough time?
Okay, well, we're going to make enough time. How about that?
Good.
Well, I'm originally from New York City, Manhattan to be exact. Yes, so that's really cool. And I grew up in Tampa, and I came to South Florida and Miami for college back in 2013. And I've just been here ever since. I love the culture. I love the fact that when I look to the left and to the right, I see different people. I hear different languages. It's a melting pot. Can't get enough of it. I am a big fan of nature, love nature, love what God created. I love to be outside. Trees are a big inspiration to me. They stay rooted, and even through the biggest hurricanes and turmoils, you may bend, you may flex, but a lot of trees don't break. So that makes me feel strong. And I learn a lot from trees just by looking at them. So I'm a big fan of nature. Love fruit and everything. I'm a natural guy. I'm a pretty simple, easygoing guy. I'm assertive. I know what needs to be done, and I do it when it needs to be done. And my biggest thing would probably be that mission, you know, helping to clear out corruption. By corruption, basically the lies we tell ourselves on a daily basis. Whatever makes us feel good and whatever helps us to sleep at night, which is cool, but I believe that the truth hurts simply because they live a lie and they protect themselves with lies. So my goal is to help people feel comfortable in telling the truth, which is where a lot of my services come into play, which is where a lot of the games come into play. So it's rooted in just being honest with yourself, so that way you can be honest to other people, because whatever you do to yourself, you're going to do to other people.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful work. And we're excited that you're here. We're going to talk more about the group counseling, the individual psychotherapy, the strategic consultation you offer, and of course, you know, find out, you know, how you're helping people. And it's exciting getting to know Tim Collins today. And again, he's our therapist. And there's some great testimonials I should share that, you know, for example, I was on your website and Monica says, I really appreciate Tim. He was so patient with me. Always understanding. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you, Tim. There's someone, Nate, says we're doing better now. My dad trusts me more, and I speak to my mom every day. I focus on what I can control. And also, Eddie talks, you know, thanks you for meeting with you. Great conversation. This person's temper is more manageable. Will always remember what you taught me. And, you know, of course, thanks you for everything. So just a little more of your background and training. What is your exact title so people know? And who can you speak to? You know, what age range and in what states?
Okay, so my official title is licensed clinical mental health counselor.
Perfect.
Yes, I have my license as a licensed mental health counselor.
Great.
I am based and credentialed in Florida. However, because of the laws that they have now, I can work with people who are in different states as well, and that's where the
Mm-hmm.
virtual comes into play. So
Amazing.
that's a big one. When it comes to, I do individual and I do group services right now. And when it comes to strategic counseling, that's more so for professional organizations,
Yeah.
businesses that are probably trying to enhance their productivity when it comes to their employees, or even schools who are probably trying to just get their children to listen and be more obedient or be more engaged in school. So that's where the strategic counseling comes into play.
Beautiful. Well, let's dive into individual family therapy that you offer and just age range. Are you working with teenagers as well as adults, children, or what is
Mm.
the age range?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I call myself a mechanic of humans. I just work with humans. I
Great.
work with as low as 7 simply because yes. So as low as 7 years old, simply because at that age they're a little bit more cognizant of what's really going on. And pretty much up to, I think the oldest clients I've had was 76. So whether it be children, teenagers, young adults, middle-aged adults, older adults, elders, I basically work with them because at the end of the day, a human is a human, and it comes down to whether they want to, what they want to do. So if it's within my wheelhouse, I'm definitely willing to work with that.
Great.
So
And could you
some of those
share?
wheelhouses,
Okay. Could you share some of
yeah.
the things that people come to you for? I was reading, about anxiety. There's adult issues, men issues, trauma. Give us some examples of, the types of,
Oh
things you're
yeah.
helping people with.
Okay. Well, anxiety is my literal specialty. I am a certified clinical anxiety treatment professional.
Okay.
Yes. So
Wow.
that's probably my top one. Trauma is a big one too, and a lot of people have some anxiety because it's rooted in trauma. So they kind of go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly, you know.
Yep.
Adjustment issues. Now, adjustment issues I've seen a lot with men, just
Wow.
trying to, whether it be work, whether it be finances, whether it be themselves, just trying to find themselves, or they just want to be a better person. Maybe they moved and they have to get, readjusted.
Readjusted.
Maybe they got
Yeah.
married and they're trying to adjust to that. So there's a lot there. ADHD is another one, especially with the kiddos. But I like working with ADHD simply because people don't recognize that there's a biological component, there's a neurological component to ADHD. It's not just mental; they're not bad. They just have too many neurons, and they have to have them organized. So that's where I come into play with that part. Of course, conduct disorder, oppositional defiance. That's a fun challenge. But we make progress with that one. But patience is a real virtue when it comes there. Another one, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Mm.
That's always fun. I remember my first OCD client. I was a little nervous because I was like, man, this is real. He wore the same clothes. He wore the same thing. He didn't have any nail beds because he picked at them. But by the end of
Oh,
service, he had nail beds. He started changing. He wore different colors. He was mismatched one day. I was like, wow, you've come
wow.
so far. Yes, and you could also add spiritual adjustment on there too, because there's a lot of things that are happening in the world right now where a lot of people are trying to figure out the existential meaning of it all. Like, what does it all mean? Is this true? Whether it
Yeah.
be from a spiritual perspective or religious perspective, there's always that aspect of seeing past the surface.
Got
So
it. Wow.
I
Now,
enjoy that as well.
beautiful. And I know how do you decide if someone needs the individual counseling or the group counseling? What are some of the benefits of being in the group?
In the group counseling, the way I decide that is one, if they want group, that's always the easiest way to determine it. However, if they are at a certain point to where they're okay by themselves. However, they may need some interpersonal practice or they may need some social enhancement. That's probably where a group comes in the best. Or maybe they just need help with listening skills. Maybe they talk too much and they just need to learn how to listen. The best place to do that is in a group. So that's a great way to be able to determine that one. And then I have 2 group programs. The behavioral enhancement program, which is basically for like kids. I've created a anxiety program because that was actually requested. So I was like, okay, no problem. I'm a specialist in that. So created an anxiety group. And then there's Boys Club, which is basically just a men's group because a lot of men just want to have a safe space to, one, just be men, and two,
Yeah.
learn how to be better men, more effective men. So that's where I'm at with that part.
Wow. And you mentioned anxiety. I know your specialty, lies in that. And let me ask, I feel like everyone has anxiety, and I've heard so much more about it since the pandemic. What have you seen since, everything
Mm-hmm.
happened? Is it something we've always had, we just weren't aware of, or do you find anxiety has gotten worse over the years since the pandemic?
Since the pandemic, I feel like it's gotten a little worse. Well, it was definitely bad during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Now things are a little bit more calm. However, what I mean by worse is the results of it. The What's the best way to say it? The thought processing of a lot of people are still stuck in that pandemic mode.
Got
There's a
it.
lot of panic. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of
Yeah.
skepticism. There's a lot of I'm not sure. There's a lot of blaming,
Yeah.
lack of accountability for maybe something they missed out on. So I would say the thought processing is probably the worst result of that, which is why getting back into the mode, getting back into reality and not being so much in our head, because our imagination will come up with whatever it wants to come up with. And the issue is we tend to follow those thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's typically not the best way to do it. So it's all about being the leader and letting your thoughts follow, being aware enough to say, okay, I'm aware of this thought. There's that first A. I'm aware of this thought, but is it true? Critical thinking. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's probably the biggest lack that we have right now. We're lacking critical thinking. We're just going based off of what the thought is. It creates a feeling, and we go based off of that feeling as if it's the truth. But we got to go deeper. After one, there's two, three, four, five. Don't just take it at face value. Go a little deeper to see if this is really something that you really want to engage in. Because if it's going to stress you out, if you want to be stressed out, go for it. But if you don't want to stress out, we have the cognition, we have the power to change our thoughts.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
So
And
cognitive therapy is a big one,
wow. And
of
and
course.
what is this ebook development that you wanted to share with us?
Oh, yes, the ebooks. So the ebooks were actually something I started back in 2017. I
Okay.
was homeless and I
Oh,
realized,
what?
hey, I don't know how to make my own. Thank you for your sympathy. I appreciate that.
I this is this
And
I want
I
to
was
hear
sitting,
about this too. I appreciate you being so honest and letting people know they're not alone in situations like
oh,
this and you could
yeah,
overcome it. Wow, what a great example. Thank you.
of course, of course. I always say I can't teach people to stand in their truth if I don't do it. If I don't do it. So if anything, I'll be the first one to do it to help other people do it. So I was homeless in 2017. I got scammed, and it was my last semester of grad school, by the way. So I had to make a decision between completing my last semester of grad school or getting a place to live. So I took that sacrifice. I lived in my car. So maybe a few days after graduation, I was sitting in my car and I was like, of course I'm going to
Hmm.
get a job. But I realized I don't know how to make my own money. Like if I didn't have a job, how would I make my own money? And I
Yeah.
was like, well, I'm homeless. I literally have nothing to lose. Why not? Let's try something. And I had a blog at that time. So with the blog, I said, okay, maybe if I take the blogs and I put them in a Google Docs and just slap a cover page on it, I can make an ebook. I'll put it on Amazon.
Wow.
I'll make like $5, $6 in a week, and I can buy some peanut butter and jelly because that's typically all I ate.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started. And then from there, it just kept building and building. And now I believe I have about 11 ebooks.
Oh my
And it's just
goodness.
something I love to do. Yes, whether it be spiritual, uh, cognitive, social. And then I have like one or two poetry books. I do enjoy poetry. I'm a big fan of words. I love words. I love different languages. I just love it. So the ebooks are something that I did in order to help people, well, help myself really, to be honest.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, it's something that I just enjoy doing. I do try to push it out. If somebody wants to read it, I do send it to them. I care more about people reading it than buying it simply because the information is very valuable and they're not just stories, they're direct. It's nonfiction. Some of them are nonfiction based off of just being aware of certain things. And awareness is probably the biggest thing that we need right now. You know, the veil is thinning, things are happening around the world. The question is why? And are you perceiving it in the accurate way? Of course, everybody has a different perception, but is your perception still based off of truth or just how you want it to be?
Amazing.
So,
wow. Thank you so much for sharing this. All right. And there's still so much more to talk about. If you are tuning in, we're here with Timothy Collins, again, 5A Therapy from Broward County, servicing Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. And is it just in Florida, or do you work with people in other states?
I've worked with people out of state. Like if I work with someone who is looking for services, then typically they pay out of pocket. If you're paying out of pocket, I can work with whoever I want. However, insurances are a real thing. So that's where the complications get into play. So if they're willing to pay out of pocket, I can do virtual service with people out of the state. If you're in the state, I accept Aetna and I accept Cigna, with more to come.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Also, at 5A Therapy, I know you want to discuss a little more about this card game development too. Is that okay? Or do you want to still continue on something else? Being it's our first show, I want to make sure we're just covering everything that's important to you.
I appreciate that. No, we can keep going with the card game. So that is also connected to this entire story. The past 7 years is basically, we're talking about the past 7 years of my life right now. So all of this stems out of that one situation of just being homeless. So I had a good friend of mine. His name is Andrew Hayes, and I don't mind saying his name because that man literally pulled me out of homelessness. He called me after 5 years of not talking. He moved me into his house. He literally just said, "This is your room." So I'm like, okay, great. This is cool. So he's an artist, the Hayes brand, and we have great conversations. But one day we were having a conversation and it was just kind of choppy because we were interrupting. He was interrupting. And I was like, we got to be cool about this. So after the conversation, I was like, man, somebody should make a game about how we communicate.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So from 2020 to now, I've created 6 editions of the game, which is called Funspiracy, the game of shocking truth. So I love it because it's based off of being able to ask edgy questions that are still appropriate. And yes, I use them in therapy. And like I said, it has to be fun. So the questions are a little edgy. Some of them are regular, but they're questions that will kind of pop your bubble a little bit. It'll help you recognize whether you're being honest with yourself or whether you're capable of being honest. Like, speak boldly. Like, how strong are you really to speak your truth?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest part. So I have editions for, the first one is called Social Conspiracies.
Okay.
Pretty much. The second one is called Men versus Women. I thought that was a fun one simply because in this day and age, men this, women that, da 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 da. Well, let's make a game about it. See how strong you can stand in your truth. The third one is called Psychobabble. And Psychobabble is basically the one that I use in therapy. It's more like an icebreaker, but it's still a good game to play. And this is all for like groups and stuff like that. Of course, you can use them individually, but it's an actual game. Each card has a point value system. So whoever has the best truth, they get the card. The first person to 20 points will win. But it's all based off of how cool or how truthful your honesty can really be. The third one is called Only Dares, and that's actually for kids. Okay. Because, you got to make it fun. Kids just want to move. So it's pure, like, there's truth and then there's dares. So this one's called Only Dares. And the fifth one is called Fire and Desire. That one is one of the latest ones. And that's based off of relationships and couples. The fire is based off of sexual questions, and the desire is based off of relationship questions. It's a great game, I will say. However, when people read the questions, they become a little nervous because they're like, I don't want to answer this in front of my partner. But that's what makes it great, especially for couples or in couples therapy. It's a great way to break the ice, but it's also a great way to truly find out what you're missing or what you're not doing enough of, or what you are doing right. It's just a great way to bring out the truth. And that's the whole point of Funspiracy, is to help people feel
Wow.
comfortable in telling the truth via entertainment.
Amazing.
And then the last version, oh, one more. And then the last version is literally just affirmation cards. They're called wild cards. And though these are just cards that they have specific sayings, I came up with all of them that just kind of make you say, huh, or or wow, okay. Didn't think about it like that. I get that line a lot. If I had $1 for every time I heard that line, I'd be a rich man.
I know, right?
Right.
Wow, you are quite unique. You're so compassionate, and clearly, I mean, you emanate positivity. But you did go through your own fair share of struggles in your life, and I appreciate you sharing that
Mhm.
with us. And if someone out there is struggling, what would you say to them today?
Oh man, if someone is out there struggling, I'll basically tell them, one, go based off of what you know you need to do. At the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, we all have that one thing or two things that we know for a fact we need to do, but we're not doing it for some reason. I think this or I feel like this. Screw that. Do what you need to do. After that, do what you want to do. So I was homeless. I was like, okay, I have nothing to lose. Right now, my life is blank and
Yeah.
empty. If I treat it like a blank canvas, I can draw whatever I want. I can put whatever image I want on this canvas.
Yep.
So, what do I want my life to look like? So, if you're down and out and you feel like everything's not going your way, which way do you want it to go? You can pick whatever direction you want. This is
Uh,
the perfect opportunity for you to start your life or restart your life in the way you want to do it. So sometimes
Amazing.
people just need guidance with that. So that's where I come in.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And, what do you love most about helping people?
Oh man. One, seeing the shock on their face about how down to earth I am,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just not expecting that from a therapist. At the same time, I love to see their progress. I used to be a teacher, and one of the best things that I saw when being a teacher was watching the children learn. Like literally, you can see the gears going. So with adults, young adults, when they have that, I didn't think about it like that, that eureka moment. That is that's one of the best moments in the world for me because it's like, okay, you get it. Your brain gets it. Your
Yeah.
soul gets it. Let's build on top of that.
Yeah.
So from there, we need action. Because I always tell
Mm-hmm.
people, emotions and thoughts are not solutions. Actions are solutions. So you can have your thought, you can have your emotion. What are we going to do with that? That's how you become active. And becoming active in your life, that's where the answers and the application comes from play. Because you can have the answer all day, but if you don't write it down on the piece of paper, you still fail. So
Yeah.
you gotta be active in your life. And if you're gonna be active in your life, be active based off of what you truly want to do. Everything else is kind of what you feel like you need to do. As humans, we go to work, blah 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 blah.
Sure do.
But what do
Yep.
you want to do? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What makes your heart smile? What
And
makes you happy?
I like that. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
What makes your heart? How do you? Wait, say it again. What makes your heart
What
smile?
makes your heart smile? Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
I
And it's a
love.
bummer when a lot of people can't answer that question.
I know. What a shame.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I appreciate your time here, being with us, joining us, and want to thank you for
Mhm.
enlightening us on the benefits of getting the help you need, whether it's individual, group therapy, and thank you so much for providing, these services. Would you mind sharing how we can reach out to you, please?
Sure, not a problem. You can always reach out to me via phone,
Okay.
786-495-6503.
Mm-hmm.
That's the business line. You can
Okay.
send me an email. Yes, send me an email at tcollins at 5A therapy. That's the number five, the letter A, therapy.com. So
Beautiful.
tcollins at 5atherapy.com, or you can visit my website at 5atherapy.com. That's the number five, the letter A, therapy.com. This is a pure branding at this point because I'm the only person with that type of title. So 5atherapy.com, phone,
Got
email,
it.
website, even on TikTok. I'm on TikTok too. That's 5A Therapy FL.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here, for joining us, and looking forward to the next time we get to connect. Thanks so much.
Of course. Thank you, Jill. I
Have a
appreciate it.
great day. Same here, Timothy. Thank you. Bye bye.
You. Bye bye. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.